Howdy folks, Rudrose here, and today I'm going to be going over a Ruby Amethyst kind of lore burn type of deck. It's not straight lore burn in the sense of you're using a bunch of stuff like Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom and White Rose to just get all this instant lore, but it is heavily centered around Flynn Rider as well as the new Prince John. So real quick house cleaning, I'm still kind of recovering from being sick. I've just had this lingering cough, so unfortunately that's hindered my ability to be able to do this parody I've wanted to do for you all. If you are going to Gen Con this weekend, I will be there working at booth. Feel free to stop by and say hi. But hopefully you can get that parody video and a couple other videos. But as you can hear, I'm just like always on the verge of having to cough still. So still recovering, but hopefully those will be out in the near future. So, on to the deck. The whole premise of this deck is using our good old buddy Flynn Rider and getting him to trigger right away. And what's kind of nice is we have this double thread of Flynn and Tinkerbell, so the deck kind of has two angles it can go into. Unfortunately, both of these angles suffer against steel, as Flynn always has, and Tinkerbell's easy prey for her as well. But against other decks, they can still just be kind of resilient, especially if they don't have a lot of spot removal. So the new big star of the show is this Prince John, which, despite having a negative on his character effect, which is that he'll just take damage whenever someone plays a card, for the most part, again, barring steel, that really hasn't mattered, and I've been really impressed just with him being a 5/5 on turn 3, which is absolutely huge. So when you play him with Flynn, near guarantee you're going to get that Flynn trigger. Even with something like Sisu in the past, opponents could manipulate their hand or play a lot of cards out to try to make sure that you were tied for highest strength, so the Flynn still didn't trigger. But with the Prince John, it's just so many stats so early, it's very difficult for them to get around. And then, if you don't have the Flynn, you have the Tinkerbell. Well, what does she do? She says when you play a character with 5 strength or more, you can exert them to gain 2 lore. So you're fine exerting the John on turn 3 if you set up a Tinkerbell on 2, because, I mean, if they run into him, they're going to lose whatever character they run into him, because the stats are just so big early. He can even deal with a Rhino in Steel Song early, can actually banish it without having to need a bunch of extra assistance. So these two cards, he's just been the star of the show. So other than that, we're just keeping it very simple. We want card draw, and we want cards that either are removal or enable our Tinkerbell. So Maui, of course, is a great candidate for this. Generally, I don't like to exert the Maui. Like, if it's turn 5 and I'm playing Maui, it's because I need to rush into something, so I'm not going to use him with Tinkerbell at that point. But if I need to, or if the situation calls for it, of course you can absolutely do with it. He can trigger Flynn easily. Maui Half Shark is just a beast in this deck. You're fine to exert him the turn he comes in with Tinkerbell. He's usually pretty safe from being challenged anyway. He's going to trade with anything that attacks him, and then he can instantly start triggering lore as well. So just what a great combo with that. To enable the Maui, we have a lot of actions. Friends on the other side always feels amazing when you attach 1 lore to it. Pirate's Life, everyone knows how bonkers that combo is. Be Prepared is just cool that it gets you a lore, but it's great to be able to get back if you absolutely need it. This is my family I like quite a bit. It's really good with Tinkerbell, especially because she's evasive. Usually she's pretty well protected. So if you play her on turn 2, she's a great candidate to immediately sing This Is My Family, gets you a little lore, and draws you a card. I generally don't sing it with Flynn because I'm not trying to expose him, but Tinkerbell's a bit safer due to the evasive. We also have just 3 copies of the library. I felt like the deck needed a little extra card draw, which is why we also have things like Diablo, Magic Broom in here just to get a little extra draw. Other than that, we've got some classics like Madame Mim Fox. It's kind of impressive how often I ink this card in this deck because she's not the focus. She's just there for sometimes you need to challenge a Daisy Duck and you don't see the Flynn line. The whole purpose of the deck is to enable the turn 2 Flynn or Tinkerbell if you absolutely have to. And Flynn is the main star. So you want your 1-drop on 1, Flynn on 2, and then ideally Prince John on 3. Super Goose, just a little extra lore, helps beat up on small opponents. Goat is Goat. Pretty straightforward. So if there's one card in here that could absolutely be swapped out, because this is very simple and very straightforward, is Maximus. In theory, at the end of your turn, if you have the John in play or the Maui in play, he just says gain 2 lore at the end of the turn, which is really, really cool. He triggers off John on either Maui. We have nothing in the deck to increase strength, so you're never going to get his second effect. I have to be honest, though, he's just never come up. Every time I see him, I ink him in favor of the Shark, or, you know, there's some other card that I just have to have right away. So I think you could easily take this out. If you wanted more enablers for Tinkerbell, if you put in Ruby and Amethyst and then Strength 5 and above, here's all the cards that come up. We're probably not going to have the ability to enable something like Monstrose. Like, none of these are super appealing. None of these really speak to me. A lot of them are too expensive. Like, what makes the John work is he comes out so early. Waiting till turn 5 to put this out is just like, eh. And the Firebird is like, okay, yeah, it could enable the Flynn, but then it can be taken out by so easily with the Steel Songs. Good old Honey Wizard. We know that card's coming back. Yeah, so none of these I've been overly impressed with. Again, the Goofy, they just come out way too late. Way too late. Pete, you could do, but again, I'd rather have the extra 5 willpower. The John's a lot harder to take out. Goofy, it's an okay card. It can deal with an opposing shark, but it just comes out way too late. Gaston, we don't really have a way to do the whole damage character thing, so it's just way too late. Hercules, it's just worse Maui. Maui's inkable. You could do a Sisu, but again, we're not. I do have the shift line, but I just think this is way too late. I'd rather do the Be Prepared. I don't want another uninkable. Hydra kind of sounds like he could be fun, especially if he comes and exert off Tinkerbell, and then if they hit him right away, you get his effect. But again, these are all higher cost cards. I wanted cheap, low to the ground. The Flynn into the John is what makes it work. And I always like Scar. So yeah. So if you have a replacement idea, by all means, I would say Maximus is the biggest slot that you can get rid of. So let me show you some matches and show you how fun this deck can be. All right, let's see if I can get through this without coughing my brains out, and I apologize if I cough in your ear. So we didn't see the Flynn here, but that's what we're looking for. We're trying to always keep one of the 1-drops, the Prince John, and the Flynn. Obviously, you can go into Sisu if you can't find the John, but I think the John is the ideal target here. We do get the Flynn. It's a bit late for him now at this point. I could still try to go for him, but at this point, I'm like, I kind of just need some characters that can challenge our opponent. Yeah, they can play a card like Piglet, but I could challenge into this Smee and still have a damage left, which probably would get taken out by anything it puts into. But instead, I say, let's move the John to the library. That way, if they do vanquish him just by playing a bunch of characters, I at least get to draw a card off of it. I think library works really well in here for that. I obviously could have taken out the Piglet, but I chose to take out the Smee because the Maui's going to come in. He's going to eat up the Piglet. Yum, 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 yum. Feels tasty. I have to always put the caveat, of course, too. This is the Ink Table AI. They don't always make the greatest of choices, so just keep that in mind. Take this with a grain of salt. It is not the same as playing against a real player. As we get a nice little combo, set the Broom up and the Prince John into the library. I will say this Chen Po is quite the body. Even the Prince John can't take him out. I'd have to run the Maui in as well, but I think that's probably the plan. Kind of sucks to have to use 2 characters just to get rid of 1 card, but at least the Broom gets us a double trigger off the library. Get Maui in there as well. And the crummy part is, too, I do set the Maui up to be feasted on by the Calhoun here, but computer actually goes after the library, so which is probably smart. Keep me off the card draw. And they've got the strength to finish the Maui off anyway. Here's where you wish you had that B-Prep, but at least I have plenty of Mauis to send in. See, here's an instance. I'll probably follow up with the Tinkerbell. Oh, no, I'll do the Prince John as well. You wouldn't have wanted to exert your Maui there because you have to use him to challenge. So usually the only time I'm exerting for the Tinkerbell is if it's in the late game to get that extra lore or very early when I don't need the immediate challenge. So Super Goof comes in. We get a little lore. We're actually catching up. Luckily, our opponent's in top deck mode. The computer absolutely loves to bring back Lilo every turn, but that just sets her up for Super Goof, so I give her the old hook and just pop her on the nose over and over and over again. And the computer's essentially going to allow me to win, as I can bounce the goat. I'm at 15, but I have just enough to get the victory. I think even if I hadn't drawn the fox, Super Goofs gives me to 18, and then you just go. No, okay, bounce. I still needed exactly the goat, but we pulled it out. All right, game 2, I have exactly what I want. I actually have an extra Prince John. Throw that away because you do not want your hand to get clogged with uninkables. But we've got the Diablo, or sorry, we've got, our 1-drop Diablo into our 2-drop Flynn into the Tinkerbell. Now, personally, I'm always going to favor Flynn over the Tinkerbell. I just think it's more consistent, more reliable. However, I also am going against a mirror here. Well, not quite a mirror, but Ruby Amethyst. Whereas if I'm going against Steel, maybe I'll favor the Tinkerbell. But, I mean, they both can get popped by any Steel song. Here's an interesting situation, too, where this old Sisu is actually preventing my Flynn from triggering. And based on what I have in hand, everything I have just draws cards. So I don't actually have a good way to, like, empty my hand out to make sure that the Prince John gets ahead so that the Flynn can trigger. So because of that, I kind of just go, well, all right, I'm just going to try to control the board then. You have to be willing to sack your Flynn, right? And that doesn't mean you actually, like, sacrifice, get rid of the character, but you just, as you see there, as I challenge into the library, you have to be willing to to just let it go and understand, okay, he's just not going to get me lore anymore. As I ink him there. Now, opponent is definitely getting far ahead. Luckily, this is why you have B-Prep in here. So at this point, knowing I'm going to B-Prep next turn, and knowing they don't have anything like a Pete that's going to stop me, I just get as much passive lore as I can, and the only thing I commit to the board is a Diablo, which I'm okay with it getting banished because I get to draw a card. And I'm hoping my opponent will flood more to the board, which they absolutely do. B-Prep, wipe them out. It's a lot of triggers. They have to go all the way up to 15. Luckily, we do have Shark, although I don't know if we actually have Pirate's Life in here now, right? Now here I can put the Flynn out because with the Shark and later in the game, the Flynn absolutely is going to trigger here. And there's that Pirate's Life. Man, one single Pirate's Life. We just get it back with the Shark, and now the game is pretty much ours. Our opponent, how can you win in this position? They have to wipe our board, which, okay, they do. That's a good start. But I have the Pirate's Life. So we're about to just switch lore if I so desire it. I can just jam the goat out. As you can see, I have Maximus. He wouldn't trigger here anyway. I just put the Flynn out and say, well, let's just see if I can get him to trigger. And he does. This is opponent. That's the wrong time you want to follow up with location. So I go ahead and sing the Pirate's Life and take it home. All right, no one drop, but we at least have Flynn and Prince John. I go ahead and keep the library anyway. I don't mind the library as a follow-up, plus it's inkable. It's a really good turn 4 play to move your John in there, because your John probably isn't going to last too long since it takes damage every time they play something. Looks like our opponent decided to ramp, which is good news for us, because it just means our Flynn just gets to trigger for free. Not anticipating any rush. I actually just go ahead and put the library out there, and it works again. They still don't put a body out. They absolutely could have put like a genie or something. I'm assuming this is Blurple. And now I get the Prince John out, get the library. So they put out McDuck Manor. Okay, dude, I'm already on 15 lore. I have 4 ink in my inkwell, and I'm going up to 17 lore. And I'm just going to play yeah, if you do not put out a character to stop that Flynn, he can absolutely run away with the game. Looks like our opponent was actually on red-blue. We keep our single 1-drop. Ooh, no Flynn this time. So unless I can draw into it, you're going to have to see how we play around without the Flynn line. As we see some popsicles, this is probably Blurple or red-blue. I honestly don't hate hard casting. This is my family on turn 2. Okay, this is Blurple. It's just card draw and a lore. And that never hurts. And I just established a library. This is another great time to establish a location. Yeah, it's not the great power of the Flynn turn, but I can at least move it in there, quest, drop the Prince John. Now I have a big body, and I just drew 2 cards off of that. It feels great. I've got the Tinkerbell now, too, so if I want to go into that angle, I can. But I want to make sure you're always moving your characters in the library. Happily sing This Is My Family. I can move the Tinkerbell in there as well. She is a bit at threat for an Elsa's, so I just go ahead and put her in there. I also could take out the broom as well. Hades gets rid of the John. No draw, of course, because we are at the library, but now I'm really set up for a good Maui turn. I could even put out the half shark if I want. Yep, so here, in this instance, sure, I'll exert him. What do you want to do? You're going to run your genie into it? Yeah, he could, like, power up something with the crab, but he's still spending a crab and a genie, and it's getting banished, and I got 2 lore out of it. And if he doesn't have anything to punish it, obviously the Maui is just going to take over because Shark is absurd. Tinkerbell, a little extra lore that way. This Is My Family is especially broken. We exert. I can actually sing Pirate's Life if I want. Yep, go to 19, play go, over. Just over, out of nowhere. It's really enjoyable, the amount of lore you can kind of just seemingly snatch out of nowhere from this deck. All right, excellent. 1-drop, Flynn, Prince John, that's all you want. Friends is a good follow-up for Prince John, too. Again, you're happy to have him sing. He just needs to be on the board to trigger the Flynn. They go ahead and ramp, but that just means easy Flynn time for us. Actually, here's an instance where I do sing with the Flynn. I'm trying to get more inkables because I really didn't want to have to give up Pirate's Life for Friends if I could help it. Now I can sing Friends with the Prince John. I can even plop out a second Flynn if I really want to. And I do. I say, well, you know what you know, you've got your Blurple. What are you going to do to these Flynns? Are you going to stop this Prince John this turn? No, they can't. So double trigger. I'm up to 6. I just quest on board. I could literally just quest, play the second one, get 18 lore, boom, Pirate's Life, we win. Turn 5, man. Turn 5. It is very appropriate that Flynn is called the frenemy, because if he is left unchecked, you see just how quickly he completely runs away with the game. Now, here's an instance where I absolutely may want to use one of these foxes, since good old Daisy Duck is here. Looks like we got some Churnadogs aggro. Ooh, look at those uninkables. Excuse me. I reluctantly give up the friends there, just hoping the Daisy's going to get me into a couple more, but I really didn't want to give up the 2 foxes. Man, we have so many uninkables. That helps when the Daisy's feeding new cards. There we go. That'll help with our uninkable count. So what I'll likely do, I can either bounce the Flynn and banish the broom, get the card draw. I was hoping to take out a Daisy this turn. Unfortunately, the Donald Duck messes with that. Now, I do send Flynn into the lady, right? One, because in an aggro matchup, I'm okay if my opponent wants to spend time challenging my characters instead of protecting their own. Now, I kind of forgot about the lady's effect, but they went for the fox anyway. Flynn isn't going to trigger yet, and I need to get some power here on the board. So what I can do is use him and Super Goof, or I could fox to get another one. I go ahead and take one out. You don't want to leave one around with damage in case they get a Rapunzel. I got plenty of cards, but they are going so darn fast. I just don't know if we can steal this one, and we're still a turn away from Pirate's Life. That's kind of our saving grace. I can at least fox this turn. If I can just actually sing the Pirate's Life, just saying, you know what, I want the lore just in case. Here I can bounce the Flynn, finally take the Daisy out. And now, knowing this deck doesn't usually have much instant lore other than like the Go-Go or maybe a Jacques, and I kind of just have to hope they don't have it. Okay, so they get to their Nala. Luckily, I'm at another Pirate's Life turn, which I'm probably going to have to use because I think I then need to go into the B-Prep. I don't think I have time to set up the Half Shark. Happily discard one of these unequal Prince Johns. Get them down, hard cast the Pirate's Life, pull them back on the brink of it just one more time. But they have nothing to play, so they're on 19 lore. So now I can safely, quote-unquote, safely go into the Be Prepared. The nice thing is I have 2 more Be Prepareds. Lucky for me, they draw the big tramp, and they actually miss their turn. So now I can establish any of my bodies. Might have been the right call to put the Shark out, but I actually ink it, go for the Prince John. I think at this point I realized, wait a minute, I just need to try and steal this lore. Like, I don't think this is going to work. And we do get a goat. Hooray! So I can hard cast the Pirate's Life and then just quest and just barely sneak that one out. It's a very fun, straightforward, simple deck, and I've had a blast with it. So if you've got any ideas, as always, let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you watching. Feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hopefully I'll be feeling better in the near future and can bring you some more fun, entertaining content. Until next time. As always, deck list will be in the description below, and take care.